Briefing typically lasts for about a half hour. Then Jake had set up the squad car, drove it outside. I go put my stuff in there, and then we go out for the day. But I was gone the previous day, and he had a bunch of reports that he still needed to finish up. And so we spent a large amount of time throughout the day, just him trying to get caught up from the day before, which is common. I mean, you got a lot of stuff going on. You got training paperwork you got to accomplish, and the reports on top of it. It can all add up pretty fast, but he was taking the initiative and using good time management to get that done. And then we had gone on a car accident earlier in the day, handled it, no issues. Nothing else really sticks out. It was just playing a lot of catch up from the day before. And then we were actually at the station when this accident, we were driving back to the station when this call came out. Got to the station. Jake was signing onto a computer, getting ready to start his reports. And then we got asked to respond as a secondary officer to help Officer Haas and Dotis out with interviewing some witnesses on that crash. When we first got on scene, Officer Dotis approached us and said that they had like 6 witnesses to interview. Just asked if we would help out with that. It was towards the end of the day, and being a new officer can sometimes take a little bit. We had no issue stopping to help out. As soon as we got there too, the fire truck was going to take off. Those guys were going to leave. They weren't needed anymore. And so Dotis and Jake began walking to the side of the road to go speak with the witnesses. I just wanted to look at the car quick, see where the damage was. So it was just like front end minor damage. And then I was walking back to just go move the squad car quick when the shooting began. We go to these accidents every day, just very minor property. A lot of times at these accidents, we'll just have people exchange their information if it's very minor and no injuries. Nothing out of the ordinary at this accident. There was no indication there was any kind of threat. Nothing that would lead us to believe that we were in danger just by being out there. All right, so I looked at the front of the car, determined it was just a minor accident, but an airbag had gone off. They were going to have the vehicle towed. I then was going to walk back to our squad car as the fire truck was going to take off, just to help traffic control better. We had a stalled vehicle in the middle of the road. I didn't want somebody to drive by and rear-end that car and cause another accident. So as I began to walk back to the squad car, I had made it like a step or two past the rear of the vehicle that was involved in the accident when the shooting started. So the other 3 officers when the shooting occurred were directly to the north of the suspect vehicle, maybe within 20 yards of them. Did no indication whatsoever that this was going to happen to them as they were walking over to talk to the witnesses. Officer Dotis had already had one of the vehicles pull off to the side of the road before I'd even gotten there. And then the other vehicle on the road, the driver, she was already on the side of the road with the other officers. So the car was empty, there's nobody in it at the time. I'd walked to the back of the victim car in the middle of the road. I'd walked a step or two past it, yelled at Officer Dotis that I was going to move the car. It was hard to hear out there, there's traffic going by. And then I remember them looking over at me, and then all of a sudden the shooting just started. I was by cover. I was concealed from by that vehicle being there. So I immediately drew my pistol out, called over the radio, had shots fired, and then was trying to find out where they were coming from. I then saw where the individual was at because he had gotten out of the car at that point and returned fire towards him. After I did my first set of shots, he ran around the back of his vehicle and I lost sight of him. I again called out on the radio that we had shots fired, not knowing at the time that 3 officers and a civilian had been hit. He then started shooting again, and I had a good line of sight from where I was at, and I engaged him again from the front of the victim vehicle in the middle of the road. I didn't see them right away. I was focused in on him, trying to get him down, but I didn't know that the 3 were down until the suspect dropped, and that's when I ran around the vehicle, saw the 3 guys on the ground, called it out, and then pushed past them because the suspect still wasn't down yet. He wasn't determined to be not a threat at that point. Since there were verbal commands, he didn't listen. He continued to have a weapon in his hand. I continued to engage him. Had to reload my pistol, engaged him again, and then I knew I had to get closer to him because at first the initial volley of shots was about 75 feet. And then after that, I knew I had to get closer because that's a fairly good distance with a pistol. I knew those guys needed medical attention now. And I knew I had like every officer responding that was available. And I just needed to get that guy down, detained, just like to get those guys help because, I mean, I knew it was a rifle, didn't know what kind, make, model, anything like that. But they were down, they weren't moving. So I had to get him detained before we could worry about anything else, because if he's not detained, then all of us are still at risk of being hurt. Moving out in the open, I lost all cover and concealment. I was out in the open essentially, but he was down on the ground and his car was between him and I. And I knew he was down, I saw him fall. Didn't know if he was just wounded, if he was deceased. I had no clue. So as I pied around the front of the vehicle, which is what we're trained to do, play your angles, give yourself a better position than what suspect has on you. I pied around, saw he was still moving, gave multiple commands to him to put his hands up, stop moving. He failed to listen. He sat up with a pistol in his hand. I again engaged him, ran out of ammo. I reloaded quick, got back into the fight, shot again till he dropped. However, I knew at that time like he still wasn't deemed to not be a threat. That's when I pushed around the front of the car to get closer to him. I flanked around to the west side, which is what his upper torso was. I wasn't getting effective shots as his legs were towards me and not his upper body. That's when I pushed around to the west side, the trunk of his vehicle. He had a pistol in his hand, again re-engaged, and the threat stopped at that point. So Officer Mike Clower then had arrived on scene right after that, detained him in handcuffs, and then went and helped the other officers that were down. Just kept breathing, tried to control my breathing, stay focused on the threat because, you know, he's not down yet. He still poses a threat till he's deemed not to be one. So I just stayed focused on that. I mean, we're trained to, like an active shooter situation, you gotta go push past all injured people until the shooter is deemed not to be a threat anymore. It's still an active situation at that time where we need to get to him. We need to get him either detained or eliminate him. And it got to that point where he just had to be eliminated. I think the big thing was being physically fit, able to handle the stress, the breathing, being mentally aware through like training on what you need to do, what task has to happen, and then like your communication. You got to be talking, your breathing, verbally saying what you want the person to do, because every shot's got to be justified. You got to know your use of force, what needs to be done, and what use of force is applicable. So that's big, and then being like mentally prepared for it. Like I said, like training scenarios, knowing what you can and cannot do. It's like your rules of engagement, essentially. You gotta let people know what's going on and where you're at. Otherwise, nobody can respond to help you. You need to let them know what they're coming into, so the officers are mentally preparing on their way there. They may be coming from all the way across town. They may be coming from the station 10 blocks away, but that gives them a little bit of time to know what they're coming for. And so you're trying to get as much information out as efficiently as possible. Then while you're doing that too, you're still in a gunfight, you're activating, you're perceiving the threat, what to do, what the appropriate actions are that you have to take. And then communicating towards the suspect what you want him to do. You may get good shots on him, he may drop and give up. That doesn't mean you can go up and continue to shoot. Then you go up, you detain him, you have somebody post security on him, and then you tend to the innocent people and the police officers. But you have to be like clear and concise with your statements that you're issuing. Hands up, drop the gun, stop moving, all those. And it's simple, clear commands. So it's like there's no doubt what you want that person to do. I needed help, and I needed it now. I needed officers, I needed medical personnel, and I knew we had multiple people down. I don't know what else is going on in the city, but everybody that's available, I need help and I need it now. The gravity of everything hit like right after probably like the guy got detained, and I remember thinking to myself, I did the whole like check on myself, like am I hit or whatnot. I never said anything like verbally, but I was like, all right, feel your arms, feel your legs, wiggle your toes. Like, are you hit? Are you injured? And I wasn't, luckily. Telling myself just to calm down and relax and get your breathing back under control. You're no good to anybody if you can't think straight. And you gotta be able to talk, communicate, tell everybody what's going on, so responding people can help you out. But it was like right away, I was it hit me right away. Then getting back in the station, and you got guys coming in on their off time, walking by the supervisor's office, like walking by, seeing me, coming in, giving me hugs, and it still doesn't even seem real that it all happened. This was wearing my Apple Watch at the time, and I knew my heart rate got up there, and just my own curiosity, I looked back at it, I got up to I think 169 beats per minute from going from probably like 80 beats to jumping up 110 in the span of a couple minutes. I saw all three of them laying on the ground. So it was Jake, Andrew, then Tyler. I saw Jake, saw it was fatal wound, moved on to Andrew. Andrew was laying on his back. He was still moving. He still had all his uniform and everything on at that point. Fire department, they had just thrown it in reverse and waited it out until they determined they were good to come up. So then I stayed with Andrew. Officer Dirk Tiedemann had arrived right around the same time I think that I got to DOTUS. Started like triaging him, figuring out where he's wounded, how can we help him, what do we need to do to get him out of here. Remove his vest, duty belt, cut his clothes off. Saw that he obviously had multiple injuries, gunshot wounds. Fire department paramedics were great at figuring out what to do. We just get the basic trauma stuff, but they obviously have a more training experience dealing with gunshot wounds than all of us do just by their job status. We had Officer DOTUS loaded up fairly quick and off to the hospital immediately. I personally didn't go over to Tyler. There was a lot of people that got on scene very fast as soon as all the shooting stopped. And everybody was finding work to do. So then I was mentally aware that what I was just involved in. I was involved in officer-involved shooting, and I needed to remove myself from the situation. Now that the scene was safe, there were other people there, medics were there, fire department was there, and then I needed to remove myself from the situation. And so then I found the first supervisor, gave a quick statement, what happened, basically, which direction I shot, suspects, victims. And then I got paired up with Officer Scott Normandin, and him and I drove back to the station and waited for further instructions. Stay with us, stay awake. He a couple different times closed his eyes, gave him a sternum rub, woke him back up. He was obviously in quite a bit of pain and was trying to roll around, get on his side. But we needed to focus on his wounds and just told him to each had a hand, we're holding on to him. Then had a medic get there right away. And then it's a lot of just stay with us, trying to keep focused on us. He's always trained, like, don't let him fall asleep. I knew his wounds were not good. He wasn't bleeding a lot. He had a lot of internal damage. And he needed to get to the hospital now. So as soon as he got loaded up, he was first to get out of there. I did not think Andrew was going to live, like, at all. I'd watched the color from his skin just go away, and I knew he was losing a ton of blood. And I mean, I've seen people that have been shot before and where they're still alive, but then they get taken away and they die. He looked just like that. I went home and, like, fell asleep on the couch and just woke up to a text message on my phone from Brad Cernick, and he said, "Hey, I'm outside your house right now." And walked outside and just talked to him and asked how DOTUS was doing, and he's like, "Yeah, he went into surgery and he's doing good." And I was like, obviously it was still serious, but it was like very happy, like relieving to hear that, because I thought for sure he was going to tell me that he, like, didn't make it. Probably like on my way home when I left. I didn't leave till 8:30, 9 o'clock. I called like my wife right after it happened. I think when I was still on scene, just said, "Hey, there was a shooting. I'm okay." Just let everybody know it's gonna be a big, like it's gonna be on the news. So let everybody know. And I called my dad too and told him like, "Hey, there was just a shooting, but I'm okay." And then nobody really knew that I was like outside of like the PD, like no family or anything knew that I was like involved in it until like I like got back to the station, I think, and then I called my wife again, just said, "Hey, I just shot a guy, and I'm not gonna be home for a while, but I'm okay." And let her know that like 3 other guys got shot, and then on the way home, called my mom and dad too, and let them know that I was involved in it, and because they didn't know anything, I've called them before when I've been at critical incidents and just said, "Hey, I'm fine." I think it's like obviously like check for me too, because I was very, very lucky that I wasn't right next to them, because it would have been all 4 of us then. But yeah, I think for them knowing that it could have been like a lot worse. And like I wasn't hurt physically or anything. They all just started crying right away, basically. I didn't really say too much. I just kind of told them what happened, and I'm just thankful that I was okay. Yeah, just a lot of emotions. Obviously, they didn't expect to get a phone call like that on a Friday afternoon, because I called my dad. He's like, "Hey, Zach, how you doing?" I'm like, "I was just in a shooting." He was like, "What? Like, you okay?" I'm like, "Yeah, I'm fine." But he's like, "All right, call me later." Then I called him on the way home, or then I think I said I was involved in a shooting, not was in a shooting. But he said my voice sounded different too, and he knew that, like, just his gut, probably fatherly instinct, knew that I was involved in it, but obviously didn't know the whole, like, nobody would have thought this would have happened here, right? But it did. And I don't know, it was a bad, bad day. It's definitely like reality like sets in, because I mean you don't ever know like what your destiny is, what's going to happen. I mean, you're going to a minor property crash, and this shooting happens, where I've gone to hundreds of them before and nothing happens. It's get your information, leave, on to the next call, or go type the report, go home for the day. But then this happens, and it's like a big reality check you take every day for make the most of it. I don't know, just puts everything in perspective that like Jeff and Amy don't have their son to call anymore. When I was like sitting at home on leave, I mean, it was nice to be home, but then you're just, just sitting at home, like watching TV, wasn't doing anything productive with my life, other than like being a dad and taking care of a 2-year-old, which is fun too. But it was just good to get like structure back in. Still like plays in my mind like 1,000 times a day, and still doesn't seem like real that this even happened. Last 2 months have just been like a whirlwind. I mean, I've had people reach out, very thankful for everything everybody's done for me. It's to be grateful every day. I mean, I realized how close I was to like getting shot, not making it back. And I didn't get I wasn't wounded or anything like Andrew, Jake, and Ty, right? But it was still like, you never think you're gonna be in a situation like that. Something so unexpected. But Zach at noon on Friday, July 14th, I was getting ready to go on vacation the following week and was helping Jake get through his midterm. I had paperwork to do myself for it. Just get everything done. Where now, like today, it's like, how do you say it? Like, I don't know. I think the big thing is just to be grateful for what you got, and found myself being more patient now too. Not that I was ever impatient before, but you go on like being back to work, like say I've been to car accidents since then, where I've been to hundreds of car accidents before, but this might be this person's first accident. I think I've done a better job of like explaining stuff to them, like why we need certain information and whatnot. No, I wanted to come back right away. I was obviously needed the time off, but when I had the opportunity to come back, I took 1 week off for myself, and then I'm sitting at home like, I need to get back and get around everybody, see everybody again. I knew when I came back it was going to be a lot of conversations with people asking me how I was doing, which I'm very grateful for. But I was glad to get back and see everybody again, because I had been very busy those couple weeks. Like my wife told me, like, you were off work, but you weren't really off. Like, you were busy every day. I'm like, yeah, I know. There's a lot going on, a lot more than I ever thought would be going on. But there's no question, like, I wasn't gonna not come back to work. Like I wasn't job hunting or anything. I'm fully content where I'm at right now. You look at other shootings that have happened, whether it's like in other states, other parts of the country, whatever, and try to learn from them. How would you react? How would you perform? Would you do it the same? Would you do it better? Would you do it worse? And then this happens, and you go into fight or flight mode, and luckily I chose fight versus flight. But yeah, I don't think I ever had like the worst vision. Obviously, like probably there's been some pretty high profile like school shootings and stuff lately, and you hope you'd react and stop the threat as quick as you possibly can. But you don't know how you're gonna respond, how you're gonna react until you get in that situation. And I had my situation. I reacted and didn't freeze, wasn't thinking about what to do, what should I do, like what's policy say. I just reacted. I didn't have to think about it, which is how you're trained to do. You shouldn't have to think about it in a situation like that. It should just be all reaction. But it just reinforces the fact of why you train, why you shoot till you run out of ammo and you reload, so that when you're doing it real life, it's just, you don't even have to think about it, you react. Remember, I ran dry, it didn't even cross my mind. You get put cover between you and the suspect, reload, and get back into it. And that was like the same like in the military too. Like you shoot 5 rounds, reload, shoot 5 more, or whatever combination you have. But yeah, it just shows why you practice. Because you hopefully practice and you never have the game, but, and I guess we like refer towards sports, right? But this happened and like I performed how I was trained to do, which I feel like anybody else would have done the same thing. Very grateful for the community, even just like driving around, seeing all the blue lights, everybody that obviously cares about all of us. And I know just not just me been checked in on, it's been every member at the department. People have checked in on them to see how they're doing too, because everybody was affected. I mean, I just happened to be the right place at the right time, but it could have been anybody else too. You know, I'm just grateful that I was in like the right place to do what I needed to, right place, right time, to do what was needed to be done, because I've said it before, I was very, very lucky how things panned out for me personally. The suspect, I don't think ever saw me, didn't know where I was, didn't know where he was getting shot at from. And I was just able to, like I said before, just react and eliminate him before he had the chance to hurt anybody else. Which I think, like you put another unit gets sent there, they do the same thing, right? But I was just, like I said, right place, right time. And if I'm standing next to those 3 other guys, I'm in the hospital too, or you know, I don't make it. I don't know what would have happened. I played the what if game, and it's not a good road to go down. A lot. I don't know, like what would have happened had he been able to get away, because I've seen pictures from the street fair before, and I know a ton of people go there. I talked to, when I met with the Attorney General, and then when I met with U.S. Attorney Max Schneider, and his office overlooks, I think, 2nd Avenue North or 1st Avenue North, looking towards Broadway. And he said he looked out the day of that shooting when he found out, and people were just packed in there enjoying a Friday afternoon. And had he gone there, gotten all 4 of us, you send every officer in the city, in the metro, to 800 block 25th Street, and then he goes downtown and starts shooting with that binary trigger, and there would have been tons of casualties. Whether wounded, deceased, it would have been horrible. And same if he goes out to the fairgrounds and does the same thing, it would have been a disaster.